Hello and welcome to episode 50 of the Inside the Lab weekly live experience. I am Terrence and we are here on this glorious Sunday. I don't know about you, but it's beautiful weather outside. It's not too hot. It's not too cold. We did flex the live stream from a Saturday to a Sunday, but nonetheless, doesn't matter. We are here and we are here to discuss everybody's favorite topic, and that is what purpose do consoles serve in a PC gaming market or a PC gamer's market? And you ask yourself, well, what would a PC gamer even care, or why would a PC gamer even care about the console market? But step aside and think about some of the different posts we come across online where there are, more often than not, most users who own a PC still have a companion console at best. Like, even if you could just chalk it up to it being a companion console, most PC users still very much own a console for whatever that reason may be. Maybe it's for simplified media digestion, right? Maybe it's just to watch Netflix and Hulu and Disney Plus or what have you from the confines of your bed or home. So that is what we are going to discuss in today's episode or today's live stream, live show. You know how we do around here. They are one and the same, while of course answering any and all of your questions along the way. First and foremost, shout out to our moderator. Our moderator gets the thunder applause or the thunder clap, if you will, as you know, Mrs. Mind helps keep the conversation going fast and fluid, if you will. Without our moderators, they're nothing. Also, shout out to Thunder. I see we got LT in the house as well. And anybody else, if you're just now checking in, do let us know in the comment section below. I think Cloud Zazzy. Yeah, Cloud Zazzy, it's good to see you again as well. Hello, and welcome. First and foremost, as you trickle on in, do hit the like button for me. And hopefully during today's episode or today's show, I will have been entertaining and educational enough to have earned your subscription, because that's what it's all about. It's not also about, earning your subscription, but it's also earning your desire to stay a committed, subscriber here to the channel and to continue to consume the content we curate here. And I also want to take a hot minute to Shout out our replay viewers. If you're here and you're watching on the replay again at any time, feel free to hit us up in the comment section below. But any questions you may have had throughout the duration of this conversation, a little bit of rhyming words there. Yeah, let us know down in the comment section below with any any questions you might have had that pertains to the topic of today's show, or maybe it doesn't. Maybe you have some other pain points you may want some additional insight on to help you overcome any pain points you have with traversing through this or traversing to this platform, the pinnacle that is PC gaming. It is truly a journey, and we talked about that in last week's episode. If you were unable to make that episode, you could find it in the season 2 playlist that's on the home section over on the channel, or better yet, a lot of helpful information and links down in the description box below. We have a lot of really cool and interesting content coming up here, especially as we kind of, turn our tides and we start to move into at least the Western holiday season. Close ones and loved ones and family members and husbands and wives and children of all shapes and colors and backgrounds are all looking to maybe invest in one of the highest forms of digital entertainment, that is playing video games. Most importantly, one of the best ways to play video games, that is on a PC. So shout out to y'all. And as we wait for more friends and fam to join in, I'm just going to do some quick, I'll tell you what, let's do some quick housekeeping, simply because we haven't done it in a while. And most importantly, our email list has been a little dry, y'all. Come on, so let's make it rain over there. Sign up for our email list if you haven't yet. We have quite a few subscribers over there. The more the merrier, obviously, because this is one of the best ways for me to stay connected with the community and with the audience. Should something happen to, say, the channel, or something happens to to myself, like if my health is compromised or something to that extent, at least I'm able to have a direct line of communication, and I don't have to worry about notifications being lost in the noise throughout the many different social media platforms. The audience is kind of fragmented out and over. So if you sign up for our email list, you will be in the direct know. This is what makes you an insider, if you will. So to stay up to date on all of the latest and greatest content drops and any other forms of content extensions, if you will, this is the place you want to be signed up for, y'all. This right here. So this link you can find in the description box below. All I need is it's totally free. All I need is your email address, so we know where to send the information to, and your first name, so we know how to address you. But I normally don't send out no more than maybe 2 emails a month, and even as I want to increase the frequency, it won't exceed no more than 4 emails a month, more than likely, as I just kind of want to make sure the audience gets the notifications for the live streams, or the live shows, because over on YouTube, here on YouTube, the notifications can be so finicky. I'm telling you, even I myself, as a consumer on the platform, will get notifications for live streams that have already aired. And I know some of you have shared that with me, with the live streams that I have posted and published. You say you get the notification for the live stream after it's already ended. While that's all great and good and dandy, what have you, which you could still very much watch the replay because I leave them up as they are. But being live, one of the benefits to engaging with a creator live is that real-time engagement. So the idea is for you to be notified the moment the live stream actually starts. So, or even to be notified when I schedule them out, because I typically try to schedule the live shows out about 2 to 3 days in advance, at least 2 to 3 days in advance. So it gives the link and the thumbnail some time to cook over there on some home feeds and subscription feeds, to get more, to get more users to want to set the notification. I guess that's what's key there, is to set the notification for that live stream, so you are reminded indefinitely. I believe it's 30 minutes before the live stream starts. But either way, you sign up for our email list. This is the best way to stay connected with myself and with all of the upcoming content that's starting to roll out here. And then we haven't mentioned it in a while, but we still very much have merch, y'all. We still have merch. Some of the previous editions we dropped, I believe it was earlier last year, and we didn't get the summer edition to drop. I just didn't get enough designs that I thought would be relevant to the brand and for the labware, the labware merch. So I kind of just shoveled it and we'll see what 2022 brings up. I have some interesting and cool content ideas to push the merch, but you can still very much give that a look-see. Winter is coming up for most of us here, so we have some pretty cool long sleeves and hoodies, some original, all of the graphics are original. All of them are designed by me and inspired by you, the audience. So give it a look-see. Merch supports the channel in a direct way. And really helps push the content and just represent the community. You look good creating and you feel good playing, or you look good playing, you feel good creating. Either way, it supports the channel and it supports the mission, y'all. Like, computer parts still not cheap, still quite expensive. So you can find these links down in the description box below. Of course, with our website too, which is in like just an overall compartment of all of the content, if you will. And the most recent playlist is always right there on the home screen or the home page as soon as you arrive here to the website. And I'm going to be publishing more helpful blogs, and I'm working on getting some other writers to kind of tune in and add to the blog, if you will, and maybe hopefully build a connection for, you know, future video collaborations. But always, you can typically find the most recent or the most significant recent upload right here, and that is my personal rig update, or part 2 to the personal rig update, which I see that a lot of you didn't realize that the Far Cry 6 review is like part 1 to this video. And when I shot this video, I realized after the fact that, man, I probably should have included, a short snippet from part 1 to bridge the connection between the two videos. But this video is still pretty dope and has some truly helpful insight that could help you make a buying decision with a system that you may want to have a dual functionality to it, like my personal rig is. It's my gaming and my content creation, like my go-to. I may twiddle and have other configurations and just parts that can just, you know, interchange whenever I see fit, or to experiment a little more. That is the concept and idea behind being inside the lab. But yeah, well, I kind of lost my train of thought for a second. I was inside the lab, but check this video out. Again, it could help you find some additional value that may otherwise be hard to identify in a market right now. But we're more so concentrating the conversation around consoles, most importantly being that, you know, while consoles serve a purpose, we've always said consoles serve a purpose, but PCs have character, and we understand why a PC defines what it, you know, a PC is defined by what brings it together, by all of its individual components, by all 7 of its parts. But what is the purpose, you know, or what purpose do consoles have right now? And what are they destined to conceive? Because consoles have been around for a very long time. Are they mediums? Are they inferior machines, well-tuned interiors? Because all of the hardware in consoles are custom PCBs, they're all custom parts. Right now, the current generation of consoles are all based off of Zen 3 and RDNA 2 CPUs and GPU architectures. But that is what we are discussing in today's live stream, episode 50 of the weekly live show. And if this is your first time, again, welcome to the show. I'm Terrence. If you didn't know, I'm Terrence, your host and operator, conductor of this here ride. With that out of the way, we're going to jump right into it, fire it up, and jump right into the conversation. And again, at any time or any point, if you have any questions, feel free to sound off in the chat. Let me know where you're watching from, what's going on in your neck of the woods. And if you have any questions, tell me, you know, the general, I guess, floating question or floating topic is, are you a PC gamer? And, I hope you're a PC gamer, but hear me out and listen to the rest of the question. Are you a PC gamer? And have you been unable to let your console go? Like, you say, you know what? No, I keep it next to me, or I keep it, it's a companion system next to my PC, or when I get off my PC, I just kind of switch over to my console. I have a buddy of mine who knew an ex-buddy of mine, I guess you could say, who had an high-end system, but still preferred to play on his Xbox. So Is that you? Are you that person? Say, regardless of how much money you may have to put into your gaming experience, no matter how much money you have to build around, do you still find yourself reverting back to your consoles? Is that why they exist? Could that be that's the end of the show, y'all? That's the end of the show. Can Lab get a round of applause? Can I get a round of applause? Because that's the end of the show. Why do they exist? Why do they exist? Is that why? Because they are just you just can't let go. Is that why? My applause is a little late, but still, I'll take it. I'll take it. But the truth is, as we jump into the conversation, is that some games look good on consoles and some don't. Okay. Now, in the example I had just used, I said, well, do you find yourself reverting back to your console to consume other forms of media? Or do you like to play a certain kind of game on the PC and still fall back to consoles for multiplayer first-person shooters or multiplayer games in general? Or maybe do you fall back to, say, a PlayStation and Sony for the exclusives? Because some of these Sony exclusives, yes, has migrated and made their way over to the PC. They're not all there. But I will say some of the most popular, and these are good signs, maybe this is Sony testing the water. I've preached about this previously on other shows, but maybe this is Sony testing the waters with some of their most popular and high selling titles over on their console to say, push them over on the PC to see how much interest is actually there. And should they continue to invest in this platform's infrastructure to push their exclusive games? Because speaking of pushing, they're not just pushing their exclusive games on the PC. They're also pushing potential customers away from their machines, their devices. So it is some form of a loss for Sony. But from all things considered, if you're a PC gamer and you never had any interest in buying a Sony, a PS4 or a PS5, but you like some of the exclusives, you wouldn't pick up the console regardless. But if Sony opened up some of those exclusives that you are interested in over on the PC, you would still invest in the game. Now, paying $60 for a game that was on console, that's a whole nother argument. Maybe we'll dedicate a pop-up live stream to that, hint, hint. But, from here, from Days Gone to even the upcoming potential God of War and Horizon Zero Dawn, those games didn't sell for more than $40, at least over on Epic. So that's a good sign. Hopefully God of War will also sell for about a similar price, and it won't be too expensive, or it wouldn't make sense to, it would be a little bit more economical to just buy the game than to buy a console to play the game. I know people do it, and to each their own, fam. Trust me, I'm not here to judge you. I just don't see the value in doing so, because at that point you're paying over $300 to play a game. Even if you say, well, no, Lab, I could get some of that back, sure, but how much of that are you really gaining, and how much of it are you actually really losing just to play a game that may have a campaign of 10 to 15 hours? So if you put that $1 or more on, the value of that experience, which it should eclipse the cost of the game. So if the game cost you 60, you should have been able to get at least 60 hours of solid gameplay from it. It's a good rule of thumb. But speaking of a good rule of thumb, because we said some games don't look good. Some games look good on consoles and some don't. And I said, do you still revert back to a console to play some games? Fortnite, Call of Duty Warzone. Maybe all of your buddies play on a console, and most games here now do support cross-play, which is good between the different platforms. That's a plus, and I really think that opened up the player base for a lot of these battle royale games, to be perfectly honest with you. And there was no disconnect between having to play with your buddies on one console and then play with your buddies over on the PC. But games in general, when we're talking about games on a console, you have to take into consideration and keep this in mind, that the developers, the companies that actually design, develop, and publish and put these games out on these machines, whether that be a Microsoft game studio or a Sony game studio, right? They don't disclose the resolutions of their games, right? What their games are actually being rendered at. There's no requirements to run a game on PS4 or an Xbox One. There just isn't. So there is no need for them to really disclose the details, the specifics of what the game is actually being rendered at versus what it's actually being outputted at. This really varies between each of the consoles, especially the ones we're going to discuss today, but most importantly, the ones that are still relevant today, and that's the ones that are able to run some of the most important, significant, and large, modern games is what I'm trying to say. That's able to run a lot of the modern games that gamers, young and old, because remember, we have an upcoming generation of gamers that are getting ready to come into this fold, and they could be looking to see what's the best possible way to make that happen. This conversation or this live stream may seem counterintuitive to what the overall mission here is on the channel. But deep down inside, you're going to hear me repeat this multiple times. Deep down inside, I just want you to play some games. That's what it's all about. Like, that's what it's all about. I just want you to be able to play some games. Let me jump in the chat here really fast. Spider Rose, is good to see you. Spider Rose 1993. Spider Rose says, "What's up, brother? I didn't get the reminder." Oh, man, that sucks. That sucks. That could be why we're low on viewers, but it's all good. But thanks for reminding me, and thanks for letting me know, Sparta Rules 1993. It also could have been because I had flexed the live stream, so that's my bad. That's my bad. I'm optimistic now. I'm just got to be hopeful that the replay reaches as many people as possible. So while you're here, do be sure to hit that like button for me on your way in or on your way out. Subscribe, all that good jazz if you're new here to the channel. But liking the stream will help get it out in front of more people even while we are here right now. And just as we were jumping and diving into the conversation, but shout out to you, Sparta Rules, and thanks for being here. Sparta Rules, who's also our only master. So shout out to our masters. Masters are part of our channel membership program. They are the highest tier. They support the channel in one of the biggest ways, and for that, I am super grateful for your contributions here to the content and to the channel. And I know I've talked to you in private, Sparta Rules, about some of the exclusive content that's coming to members like yourself and other members who want to sign up and join our channel membership program. And so keep a lookout for that. But we have a lot of neat content coming up for channel members. I just want to segue here really fast to do a shameful plug. But I do want to do a shameful plug. And for those of you who say, what the heck is a channel member? Just listen to this video of my handsome, weird mug and a little bit of Throwback Sunday. That doesn't go together, but a little bit of Throwback Sunday as there goes Core Shredder in its previous form. But take a listen to this quick 1-minute video. Your experience as a PC gamer to the next level with Inside the Lab channel memberships. Nothing's changing with the content our viewers have come to love and enjoy. All things consistent will remain the same. But for those looking for more and interested in supporting the channel, the message, and the mission here, signing up to become a channel member is a surefire way to get started. And regardless of your skill level or interest, there is a plan in place for you here in the membership club. There's tons of super exclusive content, right, community recognition, right, with loyalty badges that progressively highlights your journey as a club member, and custom emojis and gifts that allow you to stand out as a club member during all videos and live streams. Right. Your ongoing subscription will contribute to new topics and ideas. Sure will. Upgrades and new gear, absolutely. Of course, PC hardware for future reviews. Most importantly, you have my unfading and everlasting appreciation for your support. Sure will. All perks will be delivered exclusively on the community tab and distributed right here on YouTube. Right here, fam. Now by clicking the join button below and to discover a plan that's right for you. Hope to catch you in the next one. Be easy. So there you have it. That is the quick, short, and my what do they call that, pitch meeting for you to join our channel membership program. Really fast here, just go over it. 3 different tiers: become a novice, adept, or master builder. $3.99, $8.99, $24.99. $24.99 is one of the most value-packed tiers to the channel membership program. That is where you would have access to the upcoming spin-off show to the live experience, where channel members are able to come on to the screen and share in their own thoughts or opinions on the conversation or topics that's provided to the audience. So this is a show, the members only call in live stream is a show by the people, for the people, made by you, the people, I guess, if that rolls off right. But Sparta Rules is a master builder. And again, even at the novice tier, You have access to loyalty badges, which highlights or progresses your, your loyalty here as a member, all the way up. You start with just a PC case. Most people didn't notice, but you start with a PC case, and then you get your motherboard installed. Then you get your motherboard, CPU, RAM, and then one graphics card, two graphics cards, all the way up to a complete system. And then you also have access to custom emojis and stickers right here, or not stickers, but custom emojis to use right here in the live chat or in the comment section. So sorry about that. Shameless plug is over, I promise. But this is a core strategy here to the channel to generating revenue and being able to buy hardware and other things. So this is what your contributions literally goes directly to supporting the mission. So I consider and welcome you to join. You can find a link in the description box below. Shameless plug over. But again, shout out to Sparta Rules 1993, our channel member, Dr. Elo. Dr. Elo, it's good to see you, fam. Dr. Elo's in the house. Whoop. Dr. Elo, it's good to see you, fam. Dr. Elo gets the horn. It's good to see you, Dr. Elo. What's happening, fam? It's good to see you. Dr. Elo's a fellow creator, mastering the art of live streaming over there on his show, or his channel. It's good to see you, though, Dr. Elo. We're discussing, episode 50 of the live stream, and that is, what purpose do consoles serve in a PC gamers market? For those of you who just may have joined in, first of all, again, I welcome you to hit the like button for me if you're unable to stay for the full duration of the live stream, but it's still very much going to help get it out in front of more people, even if you're unable to stay. I totally understand. It's a beautiful Sunday, and I did have to flex the live from yesterday to today. So I promise I won't take up most of y'all time, but just stick around because this conversation still very much is value packed and could indefinitely, quite possibly, help you help a friend make an informed decision when it comes to wanting to even embark and start their journey to leave from this custom device, this custom box that is a console, there's nothing wrong with that. Remember how I started this show off? I said consoles serve a purpose, PCs have character, okay? But we're going to dive in and discuss what that purpose may be and what are consoles destined to conceive? What is their ultimate purpose? As the title in my little video here highlights, why do they exist? And I'm gonna be very clear. When I put this little montage together, I started having fond memories. Obviously not from playing on the PS5 and an Xbox Series XS, because I just refuse. There's no reason why I'd want to. Literally, I could have had the opportunity to buy a PS5, and I told myself I would only buy it if I can convince myself that I can produce at least 10 solid forms of content around this system, because I will likely get no significant entertainment value out of paying $800 plus for a console. It just wouldn't be me. But looking back at the PS4 and the Xbox One, most importantly, those two consoles, I started having some fond memories, some fond gaming memories on those devices that I wouldn't otherwise would have been able to had if consoles didn't exist. Is that why they exist? Is that their purpose? I'm telling you what, fam, we're going to dive into that question. We're going to dive into that question throughout this live stream. So that's why I'm telling you, stick around, because we are going to jump right into it here. Because we were discussing that while some games look good on a console and some don't, many users who have a companion console, a companion device, still find themselves reverting back to that console more often than not. I shared I had a buddy. This is a true story. I had a buddy who we were mutual friends with, who disclosed that they just totally ignored their system, and they had a high-end 20 series graphics card and a Coffee Lake CPU, or Coffee Lake S, or 9900K CPU. Quite a system, but they still wanted to go back to the Xbox. They could not leave it alone. So why is that? Why do they exist? Especially when some games look good on the console and some don't. Have you noticed that it's typically exclusives that look the best on a console? You say that's an obvious statement, lad, but why is that? Because guess what? The game is experienced and played all the same. What is the major difference? Especially if you look at games like Tomb Raider. Excuse me. If you look at games like Tomb Raider and Metal Gear Solid, who within the last couple of years, those games were exclusive games, but they console hopped, they console shifted. Look at Days Gone, that is itself now over on PC. The game looked good on console, sure. The game looked good on console as an exclusive, but if you look at a game that's available, that's a non-exclusive game that has to say optimize for more than one device, they kind of have to stretch the resources a little thin, and the game won't look as good. So if you're going to argue exclusives, I have a counter argument. If you say, oh, well, consoles exist because exclusives. No, they don't. If any Microsoft exclusive you want to play, you can play on the PC. Now, sure, that's not the same, or that's not, you can't say the same for Sony exclusives because they're all not there. It's just, I think, what, 5, Detroit Become Human, help me out, Horizon Zero Dawn, Days Gone, got upcoming God of War, just to name a few, right? Just to name a few. But they're slowly trickling over and coming over here to this platform. I'm glad Microsoft opened up and finally said, you know what? Whether you want to buy an Xbox or not, we just want you to experience our games. This is the route I want Sony to have, and this is the route I want Sony to take. While their consoles, which we're going to jump into pricing, and y'all going to love the conversation on pricing. Y'all know how Lab says. Lab is all about the value. I'm all about value. This channel, from the first video I've ever published, and we'll walk through it. One day I'm gonna react to my own videos. That's gonna be a live stream special, so be sure to stick around. We're gonna do that, but I do want to react to some of my older videos, especially here as the content catalog continues to grow, and I approach like 200 videos, like 200 total published pieces of content. Some users say, well, you can't, let me go over here come a mini rant, because some people say you can't include live streams, but I say no. Yes, you can include live streams, because it still required you to produce some form or some piece of content. So if you did 40 uploads, which sure might take a little bit more work if you have quite extensive edits, then you also did 60 live streams, which you just went, sat down like I did now. We did over 60. No, we didn't do, well, we have 50 live stream shows, but let's say you did 50 live stream shows. So you had like 90, 90 total pieces of content you publish from your channel. It's all the same. It's all the same. Sparta Rule says it's probably because people like consoles being convenient and portable, and you could just sit down on the couch, turn it on, and play, easy chat with friends, and price. Well, Sparta Rules 1993, we're going to put you on the spot here a little bit, brother. We're going to put you on the spot, and as I put you on the spot, first and foremost, I am going to give you the air horn. But I know that Sparta Rules, Sparta Rules still has a companion console. Like Sparta Rules is one of the people I know. Just one of many, not really putting on your spot, just other people I know more often than not still go back to their console. And Sparta Rules makes a very, very sound point as far as them being convenient, being super portable, and the comfortability to being able to just sit down on your couch, sit down at the edge of the bed, hell, lay down at the edge of your bed with your controller. Just power it on. You don't have to do anything else. That actually is a perfect segue into the next part of our conversation, because yeah, you have all of those benefits to playing on a console, and like Sparta Rules said, also it's just easier to chat with friends. You don't have to worry about device drivers, updates, USB ports. You just plug your headphone in and you just go. It just works out of the box, right? It just works out of the box. But before we jump into the pros and cons, a good rule of thumb to keep in mind, if you are that individual, or you are that person, you're here on the replay, and you're here with us right now. Which again, if you are, I welcome you. Join the conversation. Let your voice be seen and heard as I read it back to the community and the YouTube streets at large. But a good rule of thumb is, when it comes to games and their native rendered resolution and their respective frame rate, the more graphically demanding the game, the higher the resolution, but the lower the frame rate. And the less demanding games are rendered at a lower resolution for a higher FPS. That is just a good rule of thumb to apply between all of the consoles based upon what their resolution is outputting or upscale to versus what the game is actually being rendered on. Big difference. Big difference. And this is where a lot of what you're going to hear me refer to corporate console magic. Okay, because it's all like it's all tech trickery, if you will. This is where a lot of the corporate console magic comes into play, and that is that it is a fine-tuned operating system on custom fine-tuned hardware, and it creates this harmonious, if you will, results of games like God of War still even looking okay on a PS4. Although again, there's a lot of corporate console magic going on underneath the hood. But why would you want to say play on a console versus playing a PC? Like, what are the benefits? There are some. Smarter Rules 1993 just laid out a lot of the ones you hear that are brought up most of the time when this conversation is being had, right? But most importantly, consoles are affordable and cheap, and a great alternative to have, or a route to go in if you just want to play some modern games. Let's say you want to play Red Dead Redemption 2. But, let's say you stepped into the workforce. Again, we have a lot of young and other just, and when I say young, I mean, I'm like a turtle. I don't know if anybody knows my age. I might have disclosed it. If you're here on a live chat, if you're here with us right now, try to guess my age in the try to guess my age in the chat. Okay. If you guess it after, I don't know, 3 attempts, I'll give you a video shout out over on Twitter. And Mrs. Mod can't help. But if you're here on a live stream and you trickle on in, let them know. You guess my age, I'll give you a video shout out over there on Twitter. But let's say you want to play Red Dead Redemption 2, and you got a couple $100. You say, man, this is all I got. I got me some $200. I got me some $300. I can't build a PC because I'm missing out on games. I really want to jump into it. There are some routes you can take, and depending on how patient you are, building a PC, buying a PC can and will be worthwhile. The wait is worthwhile. Even if you say I only have 300, if you can possibly save up about another 2, however long that takes you, a month, 2 months, I guarantee you the wait is worthwhile. But why would you want to? Again, they're affordable and cheap. It's affordable and cheap to find a console, especially right now. And even in a PC gamer's market, it's still affordable to find to find a console, not to find a PC. That's still very much tricky. We're gonna talk about that, which takes me into my next point, is that they cost significantly less than a PC. Now, hear me out. That's just in the form of what you are able to achieve on the device. On the device, you can plug it up into a 1080p TV with an HDMI, plug it into the wall. You sit down, insert your game disc. Next thing you know, you're playing Red Dead Redemption 2. How much would that cost you? Let's say you went to a GameStop, picked up a used PS4 and got Red Dead Redemption 2 used. You paid $30 for the game, $170 for the console. What's that? A little over $200? And you can still very much play all of the games that, say, a PC gamer could play. Now, obviously, you won't be able to play it and run it as well, obviously. But there are no barriers. There are no obstacles to overcome. No player in the wild, regardless if that is console or PC. No player in the wild. We leave no players behind. If you want to game, games are a healthy medium, in my honest opinion. I'm a big advocate of this. Games are can be a healthy way to help you deal with the pressures and just the annoyances and all those other different things in life that are just, you just want to jump into a game and forget about. Okay, I don't want you to feel pressure to say, well, nope, I can't play Red Dead Redemption 2. I can't play GTA 5 online. I can't play Skyrim, right? I can't play Apex Legends. I just want to play some Apex. I watch my favorite YouTuber. I watch the things he does or she does, and I want to incorporate that in my style of play. I think I can be competitive even on a console. Guess what? This is why they exist. It costs less than a PC, but you get the same inherent results, and that is the ability to enjoy a game. Now, the Nintendo Switch is a different beast, and I included it because it is essentially a console, but I think the Nintendo Switch, on a side note, is one of the consoles that are worth owning when it comes to having a companion device, and that's simply because if you really want to play with friends, there is no other way to play with your mates. You have to have a Nintendo Switch, but there are a lot of classic games over there on the Switch that are really fun to play with your friends, like Super Smash and Mario Kart and many other ones like Splatoon. I'm kind of out of the loop because here recently I like just high quality gaming, so that's ultra wide and what have you, but there is still very much a place and people out there who do enjoy those kind of games, and still they are, I guess you could say, extroverted gamers, and they want to play with their friends. So a Nintendo Switch is a is a brilliant companion device and a companion console to have with your PC. But this is more so targeted to, you know, your gamers who want to play play some of the games that are more widely popular here amongst this space. Let's say that's even Battlefield 2042. Let's say you want to play the upcoming Battlefield 2042. Let's say you are that person who only has a couple hundred to start with. We're going to tell you how far that can take you if you want to build a PC, if you wanted to get into PC gaming and say, you know what, nah, can I play Battlefield 2042? Probably not. Not on that kind of budget. You have to add a little bit more to it, but you are certainly one foot in the door with needing just a little bit more to your budget to get you there. But one of the other biggest benefits to the console is that it's designed to run out of the box. You don't need to install Windows. You don't need to update Windows. At best, maybe you need to update the firmware on the console, right? Maybe it came out a couple months and then a patch update came out for the system a little bit later on. So at best, you just maybe need to connect to the internet and update the system's firmware. But that's it. There's no troubleshooting. There's no setting up your memory's XMP, jumping into the BIOS, checking CPU temperatures. It's just designed to run out the box. Every console is designed to run out of the box. Now, why shouldn't you want to buy a console? Because, you know, you got to take the good and the bad amongst all things. But why shouldn't you want to? Like, what are some of the cases or some of the key instances or points why you wouldn't want to go with a console? For starters, you are unable to upgrade it beyond storage in most scenarios, because while you can with the PS4, I'm not quite sure on Xbox One. I think you can, but don't quote me on that. But you know, you're unable to upgrade that custom box beyond storage, which you can even still add an external storage device to your system for more space, because games are getting larger and larger, especially some of the popular games that most of us and most of you who are here want to play right now. But you're unable to upgrade your system. You can't switch out the case fans. You can upgrade to a cooler looking CPU fan or CPU cooler. Pardon the pun, that was unintentional. But you can't, you upgrade your graphics card, your power supply unit. You can't upgrade your case. Let's say at best you want to switch to a modern case. Let's say you're content with your core configuration, but you want to maybe upgrade to a modern case, a case with better airflow, a case with RGB. There's nothing wrong with RGB. You gotta love RGB. I said it a long time ago. You down with RGB? But nothing wrong with RGB at all. RGB gets the air horn, but you can't upgrade your console. You can't upgrade them. There's just no getting around it. Whatever the CPU that was put in there 6-7 years ago, that's the CPU you're going to be stuck with, and there's no getting around it. Only, one of your options, which this is one of the reasons consoles are often mocked, is because they will just release an Pro or a Slim or an Elite or a Deluxe or an S edition of the console, with the premise that you're getting more performance, when really they just made minor tweaks underneath the hood to help make the games look slightly better. That is your upgrade. What is that upgrade going to cost you? Possibly the form of a whole nother console, $300-$400. You got to install your games and what have you. No, it's a big pain in the derriere, and this is one of the reasons why you shouldn't want to, especially if you're the type of person that constantly wants or seeks more from your media, your media and the different types of media you consume. For example, you might have switched and upgraded to a 4K TV. You might have upgraded to a 4K monitor, to an ultra wide. Maybe you just constantly want more. You don't want your initial investment in your gaming experience to be a console. If you are that person, if you don't mind and say, you know what, I'm okay, I don't want to upgrade, I'm a casual gamer, I maybe jump in, play some Division 2 every once in a while, or I just want to play some of the Assassin's Creed games, because you very much can on a PS4, which we're getting ready to jump into prices here, but you pretty much can on a PS4 and an Xbox One, and it will cost you relatively less than it would to build a PC, even to just run it and the quality that you're going to run it over on a console. Before we jump into the prices, you all know that one of my I guess you could say parables I like to share is that if I gave out 5 PS5s, we're all going to get the same experience, right? All our devices are going to look the same. They're going to light up the same. They're going to sound the same. They're going to look the same, and they're going to perform the same. But if I gave 5 of us a budget of about what it would cost to get a PS5, which right now, or we're going to jump into prices here in a second, we all likely would have different configurations, right? Different CPUs, different graphics cards. We may allocate different parts of that budget to certain areas that are important to us. If that's, I want fast storage, I may invest in a faster SSD. Maybe I want a graphics card with more than 6 gigabytes of VRAM. So I may be willing to spend half of, or at least more than half of that amount of money on a beefy graphics card and a slightly slower CPU because I maybe want to, game at a higher quality or at a higher resolution. So option B, taking that budget amount and building 5 different machines, even at that cost, is a better alternative or a better route than, say, 5 of us just getting a PS5. And we're all going to run our games. They're all going to look the same. We're all going to play at the same resolution. No matter what, the experience is going to be the same for all of us. But when you have that budget to invest in a machine, the experience will likely be different for all 5 of us. They will not be the same, right? Different CPU configurations, different core structure, different amounts of RAM. Maybe you wanted 32. Maybe I only needed 16. Maybe you didn't want an NVMe M.2. Maybe you're just fine with a 500 gigabyte SSD. Maybe you wanted an 8 core. Maybe I only needed a 6. Our configurations would be very much different. But I digress. But we're going to jump right back into the conversation and jump into really quickly here the first price overview, and that is with the Xbox One and the Xbox XS. Now, just a quick disclaimer: these are based on second or used prices. These are estimates, and they may vary depending on your locality, okay? Taxes and other factors that are hard to calculate. But just know this is a wide range of, you can expect to pay at least no less than this amount, and you really shouldn't pay no more than this amount. And that depends on, or that's regardless of if you're on Facebook, if you're on OfferUp. Just know that the prices are a little higher on eBay, as there are brands and businesses that are on there looking to make a profit from a lot of these consoles, and they might be pawn shops or trade shops that pick them in, and they gave somebody a little less so they can make a little more. So these are just estimates, and that's my disclaimer. Just keep that in mind. A good rule of thumb here is that no less, or you can expect to pay no less, and you should expect to pay, or you shouldn't pay no more. But starting with the Xbox One S, again, the Xbox One, the OG, I know it's the white one, but the OG one shouldn't be no more than $100 to $200. Okay, and then the same thing with the S, which is just allows you to have consume 4K media, slightly faster, slightly better graphics, and then you have the X, which is the 4K, if you will, device. Now, depending on where you are at and your experience as a gamer, or how much you want to experience your games, you can say, Lab, that's me. I can't build a PC with $300, but I might be able to get an Xbox One S, and I could still, hook it up to a 1440p monitor or 4K monitor or 4K TV and still play some games. I mean, they won't look as detailed on a console, but I only paid $300 for it. And I could still play all the games, all the modern games that's come out, that's set to come out here in the future. All the exclusives, Red Dead, Cyberpunk. I don't know if it's still good on the console though, so be wary of that. Do your due diligence and do your research. But if that's you and you say, well, nope, I don't even really care about 4K and 1440p, all that jazz. I just want to play some games. I went to a GameStop. I got $200, and I picked up a used Xbox One for $150 because I don't want to play at 4K. I don't care about that. I just want to play games at 1080p. Is this where the Xbox serves your purpose? Maybe you say, well, I want to play Xbox exclusives because I'm not interested in Sony exclusives at all. Maybe you just want to play some Halo. right? Maybe you want to play the upcoming Halo. You can't build a PC. All right, the upcoming Halo looks quite promising. Promising. I plan to create some content on it. Okay, but the upcoming Halo looks pretty good. So maybe that's you. Maybe you want to play the upcoming Halo, right? Maybe 3-4 years ago you were young. Maybe you were 14, 15. Now 4 or 5 years down the road you're working. There are a lot of jobs here in the USA market, and you're working and you got some disposable income. You saved up some of your hard-earned spend, and you're ready to spend it on something you like doing. If that's gaming, you can't build a PC quite yet, but you still want to experience some of these games. Maybe you're coming off the OG Xbox 360 and PS3. They're still out there, y'all. They still getting some play. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. So maybe that's you. Could this be an affordable route for you? Getting an Xbox One. Like, is that you? It is if you want to play Microsoft games and you can't, again, build a PC. You'll miss out on some of the Sony exclusives, but that's just the trade-off. One of the trade-offs you have to go in this direction. You save yourself hundreds of dollars, quite possibly, versus building a PC or buying a PS5 or an Xbox Series SX. Still hard to find. You're going to hear me say that quite often, but they're still hard to find. Okay? But this could be the direction that's best suited for you. Because PCs serve PCs have character, but consoles serve a purpose. This is their purpose. One of the reasons I laid out in the first segment of this live stream, and that was they are affordable. They are affordable alternatives and options to being able to run. I say that quite loosely, but to be able to run modern games. They're running them. Of what quality, that very much depends on the game. Again, we're going to jump into corporate console magic here, but do know that there are a lot of different magicry and scientific, technical nonsense going on underneath the hood for them to achieve these resolutions, and it's happening at a dynamic pace. It's nonstop. It really depends on what's going on in the game that the game is being rendered at. Okay, so. Again, one of the trade-offs, we talked about that in our, the Truth About PC Gaming live show, I believe. And we just talked about how, native resolution is everything and really depends on what the game is being rendered at versus how it will look. So if the game is rendered at 1080p and is being outputted at 1080p, then the detail in the game is going to look sharper and it's going to look crispier across the board versus it, say, being rendered at 720p and upscaled to 1080p. There likely will be a noticeable difference between the two panels if I put them side by side. Even especially if it's a game where there's a lot of movement, you would kind of notice some of the textures and what have you start to look a little blurry and like hazy and muddled up as the movements increase or as you start to get closer to it. So is that you? Do you want to experience games and say, you know what, I only have a couple $100, but I want to run games that came out in the last couple years? I mean, these consoles are a little dated, but they could still very much run games that came out within this year and games that are said to come out next year. But what if you do want to play Sony exclusives? You say, well, what about the PS4? What about the PS4? What about the PlayStation, right? Because you got the PlayStation, you got the PS4, which is the classic vanilla version, and you have the PS4 Pro, which is their 4K gaming machine or device or what have you that's really using corporate console magic, which again we're going to talk about. That's a newly branded lab term there, corporate console magic. But the PS4 about $150 to $250. Again, these are prices that are estimates based off of a lot of the different markets you have available to most of us here on the internets. But this price kind of like is a range, if you will. Consider it a price range. But your PS4 about $150 to $250, and then a PS4 Pro about $250 to $400 if you want your games to look slightly better and you want other you just kind of want the luxury of a bigger console because it is a little bigger, and I at least like the design over it. I was just more so really bothered that it for its lack of 4K lack of Blu-ray support, and when the Xbox Series S did. So that was a little weird and what have you. But PS4 Pro $250 doesn't really seem like a lot, especially when, again, you could run all non-exclusives, all the same games that the Xbox One could run, and all the games that a PC could run. There's really, minus PC exclusives, and make sure I put that in there, minus PC exclusives, there really isn't any game that you really couldn't run on your console that you couldn't run on a PC. When it's vice versa, if there's a particular game you want to play on PC and it's in a price range that's similar to either one of these two devices, then you're going to have to either work the resolution and accept a less than usual frame rate, or you will be unable to run the game at all. But when you're playing on a console, which again, is this the reason why they exist? But when you're playing on a console, you do not have to worry about that. It will be designed to run out of the box all the games that you may even dream to say, man, I really wish I could play. This is me, y'all. Let me switch back here, because you might be like, I really wish I could play Skyrim on PC, but I can't. But I got like $300. Maybe I can buy me like a PS4 Pro or get lucky on an Xbox One S, and the game will still look at least a little better than it would on an Xbox One or a PS4. Right? Like, is that you? Is that you? Because that was me. That was me until I got back into, into modern PC gaming. And I said, you know what? Nah, a lot of these games that I played on console, I want to go back and play on PC. Or I was telling myself over and over again, I know the game looks better on PC, but I am unable to play it on PC. This is when I was developing games, and I had an AMD, it's like an FX-based AMD laptop with integrated graphics. It had APU on there, and I was trying to game on that, and it just it was okay. It just wasn't playable. Probably, like, I tried playing the Star Wars game and Guild Wars 2 when it came out, and a couple other games, and the game was probably being rendered at 480p or something like that, and I still just wasn't having a great experience. So I always went back to my consoles and just kept telling myself that I bet you this game looks better on a PC, especially if I had a capable PC to run it in a higher quality, so at a higher fidelity. And that was me. I mean, that was me indefinitely, but that could be you. And if that is, then a PS4 or PS4 Pro is a better, intermediary device for you versus building a gaming PC. Now, what kind of, say, computer could you build, or what would be a PC alternative to, a console in this class, right? The PS4, the PS4 Pro, the Xbox One, the Xbox One, the Xbox S, the Xbox S. Did I get them all? I think I got them all. But what would be a solid, like, PC alternative? Well, first and foremost, you won't be able to match. It would really take some significant finagling to try to go hardware for hardware, metal for metal, plastic for plastic, silicone for silicone in terms of price with the console. Because at the end of the day, again, this console, the PS4 and the Pro and the Xbox One, across all of its iterations, each can run games. But if you built a PC similar to this price point, then you may or may not be able to run all of the same games that you're running on that console. But what would be a good PC alternative? Well, for starters, you're going to pay more. So get used to that little reoccurring theme, because you're going to pay more if you wanted to build a PC, which even this machine would be like a 720p, very low settings. While that doesn't seem quite appealing, take into consideration that this is where almost all of the console games have a base render. This is where they start at, just to try to be able to even just run the game. For example, Cyberpunk 2077 on an Xbox One, or Cyberpunk 2077 on a PS4. It rendered the game way down to 720p, low to the lowest to its lowest point, just to be able to run. So this system here, which I believe came to a little over $450, so about $70 more than what a PS4 Pro would run you. And this system wouldn't be able to perform like a PS4 Pro per se, but it still would have some slight upside. It has a 6-core 12-thread i5 11400 B560 motherboard, 8 gigabytes of DDR4, 480 gigabyte SSD. And in the case, I just tried to price accordingly as to if you were building a system of this caliber, where should you be at in terms of pricing. The kicker here is the power supply unit, though, as it's totally overkill for this system, which probably isn't drawing, has a 142 watts, so maybe like 150 altogether. The CPU won't boost beyond its max boost clock frequency, so you don't have to really factor in any additional wattage. So at most, with all other components, maybe 150 watts. So 550 is quite a lot for this configuration. But the idea and goal here is to give yourself plenty of headroom to be able to add a graphics card down the road to this system if you would want to build a console alternative. And you said, well, that's all good and dandy, but I still want to build a PC. Okay, well, I saved up for PS4 Pro. Could I build a PC even just to start with? Well, it may require you to drop at least another 100. So about 500 altogether, which you would consider this system to almost be like a new console, a newer console without a dedicated graphics card. Now, it does have integrated Intel graphics, so that's where you're getting your video output, and it could run some games, not all. Almost indefinitely, every game you fired up would have to be ran at 720p. Minus games like maybe CSGO and Fortnite could probably run it at 1080p low settings if you wanted a little bit more detail. But you have the benefits of a console. I'm sorry, not the benefits of a console, but you have the benefits of a PC when it is when you play your games on a PC. I'm sorry, you have the benefits of a PC. So while this limits you to how much you can push the graphic settings and your resolution, it's a fine starting point to, even if you added an RX 570 down the road for a couple $100. You started with 470 or about $500 after you get a $10-15 Windows 10 key, pay somebody to put it in there for you, or you learn how to do it yourself. It's quite easy. All you need is a USB drive, and it's good to have, and it's good to set that up in case you ever need to reinstall Windows, or your system is compromised, you need to reinstall Windows. It's good to just have that USB with the Windows 10 or the Windows 10 installer and updater already on it, so you could just install Windows 10 whenever you need to. But this system would be a pretty decent starter point. I mean, 8 gigabytes it's not matching what the console has, but again, if we were to match what the console has in terms of price, it would be probably almost 2.5 times more than what the console is, and that's not really good value for your money if all you want to do is play some games. Okay. So, but if that's you and you're cash strapped, and like I said, you just want to play some games, it's here where the PC is unable to compete, especially with the term I use, corporate magic. Okay, corporate console magic, like checkerboarding and visual trickery, like dynamic or upscaled resolutions. The hardware is optimized for all that Harry Potter sorcery nonsense. Okay, that's where it's at with consoles. The magic is actually in the hardware. The magic is underneath the hood. And so trying to build a PC that's similar to cost to either of these consoles, and we're going to jump into the next generation of look, I say that loosely, next generation of consoles here in a second, but trying to build a PC similar to cost, even on the used market, is sacrificiously challenging. It's possible, but it's very challenging. If you wanted to say, I only have 250, can I build a PC? Most likely it wouldn't be with the graphics card, or it'd be a very older graphics card, and you still would be limited to the type of games you can play, as most modern games require you to have at least 2 gigabytes of VRAM. And if you're running an APU like the i5-11400 or a Vega based Ryzen CPU, like with Vega 8 or Vega 11 graphics, those CPUs are reserving 2 gigabytes of system memory for VRAM, but most games will require you to have at least 2 gigabytes of VRAM enabled to run. So you still would be extremely limited in the type of games you played if you hit the used market and you built a PC at a similar cost. Okay, that if that is you, again, it would make more sense for you to invest in a console. And I say invest, I should also say I say invest loosely, because it's a dead investment. There's not much more you can add to the system to increase its productivity, to get more out of it. You can't. So it's not really it's not really an investment in your experience. It's like it's a medium, if you will. It's just a intermediary position, or it puts you in this intermediary position to say, I'm halfway there, but I'm not quite ready yet. I'm still working on it. I just want to play some games. No player in a while. But a system built around this price point, right? This 400, like, this is a complete system, y'all. For those watching with this right now, I know we have a lot of first, I'm sorry, I need to switch back to our webpage here, but this is a complete system, y'all. And built around this price point, you could run games like GTA 5. Again, 720p low settings, but you could run games like GTA 5, be in the low 40s, somewhere around that. As most i5s tend to kind of hover around on their integrated graphics, which 11th generation, I believe it's 730 Intel UHD graphics. The Witcher 3 you'd be able to run, again, 720p, very low settings, and other graphically demanding games at a frame rate that's very close to these consoles, but with a little bit more benefits. That's very key, because we're not going spec for spec with the console. That's a little challenging to do, because again, not only are the manufacturers like Sony and Microsoft, they're buying these PCBs, these hardware configurations. They're buying them, y'all, at a bundled discount. So they're not buying one or two like most DIY builders. I just want one graphics card, one CPU, one motherboard to build one system. AMD and Nvidia and Intel, well, not Intel, but AMD and Nvidia, most importantly AMD, because I believe it's all AMD parts in the consoles. They offer a discount to, Sony and Microsoft for buying these PCB, for buying these parts in bulk. So it doesn't cost them as much. This is how they're also able to recoup some of their money in the actual profit, or in their bottom line. Sparta Rules 1993 says console makers most of the time take a loss, but make their money on game sales. That was true. And I don't have the receipts on me right now, but that's maybe something we'll cover in a part 2 to this conversation, because my understanding is that was the case with the Xbox 360, the PS3, the PS4, and the Xbox One. But thereafter, the hardware cost became low enough for Microsoft and Sony to actually squeeze out, profits from their consoles. Previously, yes, they sold, like the PS3 was sold at a loss. Every single one was sold at a loss for Sony. But guess what wasn't around during those times? Games as a subscription, games as a service, ongoing subscription models, and things like that. So not only are console makers making their money off exclusive game sales, because remember, they're only making it off exclusive game sales, they're also making it off of microtransactions, things like like the different subscription models you can get with Sony, PS Plus, and their other subscription models. It's things like that they're actually now trying to model their revenue streams around, finding other ways to make money off of their console just at the initial sell. So if they sell you the $500 console, but they can make, say, $120 a year off of you, and you're going to have that console indefinitely for a couple of years. Eventually, after maybe 3 or 4 years of you consistently having that subscription model, you have bought the console twice. Sony and Microsoft knows this. This is why you got the Xbox Game Pass. They can milk you for multiple years, then eventually you would have bought more than one console. They would have sold you 2 consoles for the price of one, because the subscription model, the cost for the infrastructure to host the games, to stream the games, is already set up in place. They have to actually physically manufacture the console. They do that, one time for simplicity. They do that one time. They sell it to me. That's it. They make their $7, $8, whatever the bottom line is on a console sale. But now I want to sign up for PS4 Plus or PS4, whatever the subscription model is, and I'm willing to pay the, you know, $10 $15 a month. That adds up over time, and now they have made more money by selling me the console, but also selling me the subscription model. They've also made that money as well. So, I mean, I'm gonna do my homework on that Sparta rules, but that was my understanding. But yes, you're right. Previously, historically, consoles were sold at a loss, but now with the advent of microtransactions, this is why games like Fortnite is free. But it's one of the most popular games. And Epic is worth so much money based off a free game. Why? Because they give you the free game and then sell you the what are the things that go in hamburgers? Condiments. It's like if I gave you could be hungry. Like most when we want to play video games, we're hungry for entertainment, right? At least for me. If that's you here in the replay, let me know. And if you're here now, let me know. But when we want to play a video game, we're hungry for media. We're hungry for entertainment. So if I dropped in if I gave you a burger and I say, here you go, and you look at the burger and you say, well, man, Lab, where's the condiments? I just say, no, well, the burger was free, fam. The burger was free for you. I said, well, that's good, but it's not going to be very good if I don't have condiments. Hint, hint, Fortnite and any other game with microtransactions. I give you this free burger, and you're like, man, the burger looks good, it smells good. I bite it, and you're like, you know, it's like it's missing something. That's because I purposely held back those ingredients from the burger because I want you to pay for them. I gave you the burger for free, but if you want the true experience, if you really want to taste that burger, and it's full form, then you have to pay for the condiments. I want $2 for the pickles, $1 for the ketchup pack, $2 for 2 lettuce. And if I do that every time you want to eat the burger, then again, I've made more money off of you than if you would have bought the burger. Rob Balasabas, what's happening? It's good to see you. The fam, Rob Balasabas gets the air horn. What's happening, Rob? It's good to see you. On top of that, Rob, I think it's the first time I had the opportunity to have you on a live. Let me shout out Rob Balasabas really quick here, because from Restream to Streamlabs, I was able to start the live stream based off of following Rob Balasabas' content. Rob is a content creator who works over at TubeBuddy. I actually got my TubeBuddy shirt on, ironically. Actually got my TubeBuddy shirt on, but Rob works for the good people over on TubeBuddy, and Rob really helped, help me get a lot of information I needed to get the live stream up and going. When I first started and wanted to do the live stream, I was lost in it. If y'all remember some of our day one Sparta rules, you were around before we started doing live streams. I didn't do live streams when I first started creating content. That came about 1.5 years later, because I just was like, man, there's so much to it. But then I started watching, creators like Rob Balasabas, and I learned a lot and about the benefits to using, like software like Restream and how to schedule a live stream. That was a big issue I had, but then I was able to get the answer by following Rob's channel. So if you're a creator, you're an aspiring creator, and you're here with us on the chat, man, find Rob Balasabas over on Twitter. Great guy and super relatable to you, and will help you with any and all of your create content questions, especially if you are interested in using TubeBuddy. TubeBuddy is a browser plug source that helps you manage your channel, but most importantly, what I like about it is it helps you reach and find your audience. It's not about getting subscribers. For me, it's not even really about getting views. For me, it's about connecting with the people I want to reach. That's a lot of you that are here, especially our day ones. I've used TubeBuddy. I mean, we're close to like 3,000 subs now, but I used TubeBuddy when I was at like 50, y'all. So shout out to them. And again, Rob, man, I appreciate you being here. As Rob says, your stream is dope, man. Awesome work, bro. Yeah, I appreciate that, Rob. Inspired by a lot of you guys up there on TubeBuddy and everything. But yeah, all right. So with that out the way, let's switch back here, because the burger, I was talking about the burger, but that's how consoles, and that's how a lot of them make their money, and that's okay, because again, we ask yourself, is that why consoles exist? Is that why they exist? Because they are this super affordable, hyper easy route to take to just jump in and play some modern games. That's even if you want to be an aspiring you know, a gamer or content creator. You say, you know what, I can just capture my games and upload them over some commentary. Fam, it has to start somewhere. Your journey has to start somewhere. Okay. So that could be you, and consoles can even very much still serve that purpose. But with that system, if you're in the sub $400 tier, compared to like that's the PC that we just parted out and I highlighted and shown with the i5 11400 6-core 12 thread and a B560 motherboard, which again, that system has tremendous upgrade potential, because on that B560 motherboard, right, it's an $84 motherboard. On that B560 motherboard, it can grow old, but it will not grow obsolete, fam. You could still very much drop in a 10900 10-core 20 thread, or even the super fast 8-core 16 thread 11900. Sure, you won't be able to take advantage of Intel's 12th generation, but that's a whole nother conversation, and I'm working on procuring some hardware to do some tests. I've reached out to a few different brands, and regardless of what they say, we're going to make it happen, because I really want to test one CPU in particular that I think holds the most value in the long run. But on that B560 motherboard, okay, 10900, 11900, or you can even go from, I mean, that's essentially a good upgrade path, going from the 11400 going up to like an i7 or an i9, or even a side grade, if you will, and jumping back down to the 10900 if cores is your forte and you need more cores for your workflow. But if you are in the sub $400 tier and you say, Lab, I can't do it. I can't do it. I have no more than about 300. I'm stretching it thin. I saved this money up. I have bills and other full-time obligations, and that's totally fine. That's totally understandable and acceptable. But you can say, I have other obligations, Lab. I can't, and I just want to play this game. All my buddies and my friends have been playing GTA 5. Hold on, fam. This could also be you. Your console could have died, because all hardware has an expiration date. They all will run up to a certain point, and then they will just cease to exist. By exist, I mean work, because in terms of computer parts, if it's a graphics card, it may not power on, or it may not output a video signal. If it's your power supply unit and it's dead and it's gone, your system won't power up on it. It won't power up at all. If your CPU is faulty, or you're dealing with cooling issues, your system may shut down if you're unable to boot, or your application starts, failing to open up. Which, if that happens to you, if you're like saying, Lab, I'm trying to double click on the application and it won't open up. Shout out, this is for my Windows users. My guy Rob is a Mac user, which it's all love there with my Mac friends. But if you're having an issue with your systems, I'm sorry, not your system, but your applications and your software not opening up, or they're being like hung up in your system's queue, then that's typically an issue with your DRAM. You should get that looked at. But if you're in that sub $400 tier and you can't say invest in a PC, take advantage of all those other benefits, and you want more value for your gaming experience, then console, this is why they exist. This is the path for you to be able to experience modern games at a slightly better fidelity than you would if you try to target a system in this price category. That's so crucial and so key to this argument, as I once again bring up the Xbox card, or how much Xboxes are going for on the used market, because you're not really gonna find one new. But if you do, then you really shouldn't even pay no more than this for it, or these prices for either one of these models. But you can't build a system, you can't build a PC at this price point, okay, unless you're no, I'll stand corrected. You cannot build a PC at this price point and expect the same level of performance. You could run games to some extent. You might be able to finesse the used market, but it is going to take some serious finessing. And even when, once again, you might be looking at a GT 550 or some like a third or fourth generation NVIDIA graphics card, and again, you still will be limited by the type of games you can play and even the level of detail you want to run them at. And again, you would still get more value for your money by investing in one of these devices here, in an Xbox One X or S, if you want to play Microsoft exclusives. If not, you say, no, Lab, I want to play Sony exclusives and I can't build a PC. I want to play, I like my Sony games, and again, 150 to 400. It's essentially about the same range, with the PS4 Pro and the Xbox Series X being the last previous generation's two juggernauts that go, pound for pound in terms of what they're able to do, with the Xbox One X offering a little bit more 4K utility, with its hardware. So if that's something you like, you consume 4K media, you have a 4K TV, consider going with an Xbox One X, and you don't want to build a PC, you got a cool $350, $300 to $400, and you want to drop it on Xbox One X, go for it, because you will not be able to build a system. It will require you to spend a little bit more to build a system that's going to at least surpass the performance of these consoles. Okay. And even then, and even just to build a PC alternative, and not say wanting a better experience, it still very much would require you to spend a little bit more, on average about 30 to 40%, on more, if you wanted to build a PC of equal caliber with the console. But if you have a little bit more to spend, let's say you revisit your conversation and you're like, a couple weeks later or a couple months later, you say, Lab, I did my due diligence. I worked some overtime. I got that sponsor deal, or, I had a big revenue check come through. Whatever the means to your madness, or your methods to your madness, if you're able to add more to your budget, let's say about another cool 500 to 600. What is the purpose of a console now? Because now we're in the next generation of consoles. Right now, we're in these devices that have been promoted to do 1440p 60 hertz at the $299 level with the Xbox One S, but we haven't gotten there yet. Games can't do it quite yet. 4K 120 hertz. These are what they promised us. Okay, these are what they promised us. It's not quite there, but this is what Sony and Microsoft has promised us. So if those are avenues you want to, indulge in, and you want higher quality or higher level of gaming for your money, and you say, no, I saved up 500, like, well, can I build a PC for 500? You could certainly build, the PC that we outlined here with these specs here. You can certainly build that system, because is what I would recommend is about $500 once you, take into consideration a $10-15 Windows 10 key. You could build a system at that price point, but still it wouldn't compete with an Xbox One S. It will cost about $100 and something, about $200 more. That's if the Xbox One Series S, I should make mention that. That's if the Xbox One Series S is found at MSRP. You're going to spend about $200 more for a system, and it won't be able to compete like an Xbox Series S. This is almost like the conundrum, y'all, with consoles, especially right now. Even if you could find an Xbox Series S for $299, what's available on paper is hard to achieve with a system, especially if we're talking new price to performance. I said, well, if you can get it on the used market, that's one thing. But now you're trading off the benefits of a device being new versus one being old, trying to save money, once you can get more with the newer device, warranty, fresh silicone, no dust, all of those things, versus just, spending more on a PC. You can spend less for a console and almost get more. It's in a weird spot right now. That's only mostly because of the GPU situation right now. PC gaming isn't expensive. A central component or aspect to PC gaming it's not expensive, but graphics cards are what's really turning the market into muck. And it really sucks. Sparta Rules with the Q. Sparta Rules says, do you think a year or AMD will release Big Navi as APU to the PC market? Yes, I do. And if you look at AMD's roadmap, when they first announced RDNA 2 and they showed the Navi 10 and 22, there's one more. And I really think RDNA 3 will be on the next generation APUs. Yes, I do. That's a very good point to bring up, Sparta Rules. And I do think I think RDNA will eventually replace Vega integrated graphics for AMD. We both said it here. We both get a round of applause for that, because I truly do think that Zen 4 and 5 will bring new graphic architectures, and AMD will move from the Vega branding, over to RDNA, and they will use RDNA 3 to make that transition. I really do. But very good point, Sparta Rules. Thanks for bringing that up. So let's switch back here. because like I was saying, if you had a little bit more to spend, a couple more, a couple more $100 to spend, $200-300, not two three, but we're going from a budget of no more than 400, because the PS4 Pro topped out on average about 400. If you go no more than 400, then you can add about $200 more. You say, you know what, I saved up between 550. If I wait another 2 weeks, I might be able to do 6. Like, could I build? Is it worth the? Remember how I said, y'all, man, I did a reel on this. I told y'all it's worth, the wait is worthwhile. If you got 500 and you say I can save up another 100 and maybe like 6 weeks, it's worthwhile, because what you're going to be able to add to your system is going to not only add to your system, but you're also adding to your experience. So the wait is worthwhile. But that puts you on a slightly different path once you say, nope, I got a couple more $100 to spend. Now I'm in the current generation of consoles, and I'm also quite possibly along the lines with the system that has a dedicated graphics card. That might be you. Let's start with the Xbox Series SX. I found that there's more of these especially on the used market, than there are of the PS5, and I'm not quite sure if that's because they're just not great gaming devices. So more people are like offloading them because they're just not what they expected, or maybe they've grown old with it. Maybe the hype and the lure is all gone now that we're seeing a lot of the features haven't made their way to these consoles yet. But if that's you and you're now say, I have $600 to spend and I want a little bit more in my games, like I do want to run on newer hardware. Well, the Xbox One S, which is the digital version, and the X is the disc version, which is like the slightly higher end version, on average is at least between $5, and I know it says $750, but that's really on the used market. If you try to go buy one brand new on eBay, then you're going to pay a little more. And I tell you what, I didn't want to do it, but I am, because I had to painstakingly do the research, so you're going to do it with me. So if I go to Xbox One Series S. Let's see. Xbox One Series S, and so here goes the Series X. Well, it says pre-order, so I don't know. So it's a couple. I tell you what, this is a Series S console for $300. Not bad. Again, if you were looking to get the previous one, that looks like an Xbox. That's an Xbox One S. So keep a lookout for that. They tried to drop series in the title right here, but no, that's an Xbox One S. Says it right here, but they have series. That should be errored, because this is not an Xbox Series S. It's just not. Let's see. Go down. A lot of scammers on eBay. Yikes. If we want to, let's go to offer up. Offer up. Let's go Xbox Series. What were we looking at? X. Xbox Series X. We have one here, 700. Sealed. In the box is typically a good sign, especially if you can maybe get a picture of the UPC. But 700, brand new, sealed in a box. So again, if you wanted to, if you had a little bit more, that either puts you in the Xbox Series S or the Series X route, which again selling for $750. Which I'm like, I mean, you question the the condition of the console when this is the picture, but they got a lot going on that they maybe should have cleaned up before they took the picture. But at least it's showing in working condition, and it's showing in working order. But as you can see, I mean, again, as you can see here, $550. These are, obviously based off of where I live. And remember how I told you in the beginning that your prices may vary based on based on where you live and taxes and all that good stuff. But these are just a general. As you can see, here's one for $900. As I said, typically between $500 is the lowest I've seen, with them exceeding close to 1,000, which is like, oh, this person was selling at 1,000. It sliced it down to 9, which I imagine, what, 19 days? I guarantee, and probably in 10 more days, this will at least be 850, 800, because it's been up this long for a reason. Nobody really wants to pay $1,000 now for an Xbox Series X, although it does come with, it looks like, 2 games, but still quite a bit of a stretch for a console. I mean, this is about $300 to $400 more than what it's actually worth. But there you go. You can pick up an Xbox Series X or a Series X for about that price range that I dropped here, between $500 to $750, give or take a little more. And the same thing for the Xbox Series S. Now, we all know what these consoles are capable of. We all know, what their spec sheet is on paper. They have yet to achieve that level of fidelity in their games, and some of them do still struggle, but they still present to you the affordability, the ease of use that consoles are, destined to conceive. I said this earlier in the live stream. This is what they are. This is why they exist. This is their purpose. Okay. Same thing with the PS5. If you go back and say, well, nope, once again, I want to play exclusive games. I still got about $600 to work with. If I couldn't, save up a little bit more to get an Xbox Series X, which again, if you're going to be in that price point, stay with us, because then you're almost in a point to build a dedicated PC. So you say, well, where am I at exactly if I wanted to buy a PS5? Again, both of these consoles still a little hard to find in retailers. Okay, you have to navigate the webs more often than not, unless you get lucky in one of your brick and mortar stores, right? Target, Walmart, Sam's Club. It varies wherever you live, right? I mean, Best Buy. It depends on where you live. You might be able to get lucky and walk into a store and pick up these consoles at MSRP. If you do, then that's awesome, fam. You just got more value for your money. Especially if you can, pick up an Xbox Series X for $500. That is what its MSRP is, $499, not including taxes. For me, for example, if I bought the Xbox Series X with taxes, it would cost me about $400 or about $540 something altogether if I bought an Xbox X Series X here in my state, which is Maryland. And same thing with the Xbox Series S for $300. If you're able to find that machine, that device, then it's a heck of a gaming device for what you're getting. Again, being that you're unable to configure a PC at that price point, say under $300, that would be able to, say, compete with the corporate console magic that is checkerboarding and upscaling and using dynamic resolutions, which are resolutions that are changing throughout the game depending on what the game is doing, how much needs to actually be rendered in the game. I mean, this is how consoles save up on resources. This is how the PS4 is able to run the same games that the Xbox Series X can, but why the Xbox Series, the Xbox One can't run games that the Xbox Series X is designed for. Okay, so the underneath the hood, even with the PS4, it's using corporate console magic to use dynamic resolutions and checkerboarding to rework the game. If there's a lot of action, a lot of things need to be rendered on the game, then the engine is going to lower the resolution of the game as much as possible to ease the stress of the console. So it's not like stuttering and you're getting a horrible playing experience. And this still will net you maybe 15, 20 FPS if we're talking on a PS4. Again, the more graphically demanding the game, the higher the resolution, but the lower the frame rate, and the less demanding game, the lower the resolution for the higher the FPS. Why is that? Because when you have multiplayer games like Call of Duty Warzone, Battlefield 2042, Battlefield 1, okay, Vanguard, Overwatch, if you will, those games are best played and best experienced at a higher frame rate versus games like Assassin's Creed and Resident Evil 4. Those games don't necessarily require a high FPS output for them to be a smooth experience. You can play them at about 30 to 40 and it wouldn't be all the less, but this is why those games will have a higher resolution, so the game still looks good, runs slow, while games that are fast paced and require you to have a lot of movement involved will not look as good, but will run significantly faster. But when you look at the alternative to an Xbox and you say, well, I want to play Sony exclusive games, we jump over to our PS5 card and we look at what PS5s are going for, and it's slightly more than Xboxes from what I'm seeing. So that could spell that right now the PS5 is the more superior console between the current generation of consoles. And on average, the digital version, that's the one without the disc, it sells for about $500 to $800, which is interesting because I said, you know what, you're almost in a computer, you're almost building a gaming PC in that price range. And then with the disc version, you're at $600 to $900, which again, you're very close to a computer able to build a PC. This is what excited me to get this show on and popping, because with the PS4 and the Xbox One, it was a little bit more challenging to part out a system that's affordable within the grand scheme of affordability of a console. But once you get up here to the PS5 and the Xbox Series SX, you start seeing that, whoa, these consoles are slightly higher than the norm. Even, if you're trying to buy one brand new, you're paying $849 to between $800 to $1,100 either way for the digital or the disc. You're going to be a little closer to the topping out between $800 and $900 parts of this budget versus the 5 and 6. The 5 and 6 is what they are selling at MSRP and what you would pay if you walked into the store, right? If you're a parent and you're like, yeah, I want to buy my kid a console, and they keep bugging me about a PS5. What does it even really cost? If I got a retail connect and I can get it retail, I mean, $500 to $600 is what they're retailing for. But if you can't get it retail and you have to dance these streets of the used market, right, then you're looking at between $800 for the digital version and $900 for the digital version. You have to ask yourself, is it worth what I want to experience on my games? I want to, I have a 4K TV, and so I want to consume 4K media. I want to see what this the new God of War Ragnarok is coming out. 1440p, 60 hertz. You want to take advantage of all of these selling points Sony is offering on top of their exclusives. You have to ask yourself, is this the better route? Do consoles serve a purpose now that they are approaching the cost of a PC? One that may not be of equal, hardware specification, but one that is at least very similar, and you are awarded and afforded the benefits of a gaming PC or a PC in general, because it's easier to, say, edit video on a PC. It's easier to create a thumbnail on a PC. It's easier to record music on a PC, all that stuff, to write a description. It's easier to do all of those things on a PC, but what does the PC alternative look like in terms of cost? Especially if you say, well, Lab, I have about $900 and I want to get the most out of my games right now. I got a 4K TV. I want to get the most out of my games. What would that cost, or what would that even look like, right? Because I got $900. I mean, I could buy an Xbox Series X, but I don't really like Microsoft, and I don't really care about their exclusives. All my buddies play on PlayStation anyway. I just want to run some Apex in 4K or play Days Gone, whatever have you. Or you want to, say, build a PC. What might that look like? What would that look like for you? Would you say, nope, I'll build a PC, or I'll buy a PS5? I'm sorry, I stand corrected. What might that look for you? I know for me personally, if I had $900, depending on the mindset and the type of games I wanted to play, historically, I've always been like a single player, type of gamer, where I like playing single player story driven games. So for me, the best possible way to experience that game and all it has to offer would be on the $900 PC, because again, what it is all about, it's about investing in your experience as a PC gamer. Really, your monitor is where it starts, because even if you have a 1080p monitor just sitting around, you're like, well, I have a 1080p monitor or a 1080p TV. Or if somebody gifted you, or you say, you know what, I know about 2560, 1440p, and I want to buy a machine that's going to be able to take advantage of my monitor. What might that look like? Would it be the $900 PC? Absolutely. You could scale the $900 PC. You can't scale the $900 console, which we're going to talk about. I don't want to jump too far. I just want to jump over and say, if you just not joined us, I just want to welcome you to hit the like button for me. And if you're not subscribed here to Inside the Lab, hopefully during this live show, I would have earned your subscription. I would have been entertaining and educational enough to have earned your subscription. If you didn't know, we do go live once a week, at least once a week between Saturday and Sunday. I'm still working on the time, y'all, trying to figure out a day and a time here on the weekend that works for a core part of our audience. But yeah, hopefully during this live stream, I have earned your subscription and been entertaining and educational enough. But $900 for a PS5, about, let's say, $850, $900 for an Xbox Series X. What would a PC alternative look like? Well, if we jump over to our browser, other similar components, say the case and same power supply, essentially. It's just the other one was gold certified. This one's bronze. But we have the biggest difference here is the GTX 1660, the 16 gigabytes of DDR4, which, remember, the last system we built to compete with the PS4 and the Xbox One and what have you. They only had 8 gigabytes of DDR4. And it also had 11th generation i5, but we're going to side grade here to save on cost because we've added a GPU, and that's because we want more for our games. i5 10400, another 6-core 12th generation, is slightly slower than 11400, probably about 2 to 3% slower than 11400. So you're not missing out a great deal, especially if the idea is for you to run your games at a higher resolution. 1440p, strongly would recommend a graphics card with at least 6 gigabytes of VRAM, and a 1660 can get the job done. 1660, you'd be able to play games like Red Dead Redemption, not ultra settings or high settings, probably medium settings at 1440p. And this graphics card could also handle 4K. You would have to likely lower the settings a good deal to have a playable experience. But this system here comes in at just under $922.90. What's tricky here is finding this graphics card. This graphics card, widely available even on Amazon right now. Micro Center. If you live by a Micro Center, get to a Micro Center. You're going to save about $100. 1050 Ti's are in stock right now, in abundance, mind you, for about $275, $290. I started to pick one up to revisit, but the 1660 at $459 is a fine graphics card. Now, here's where it gets interesting, because now you're approaching the ability to exceed the performance of a console, and you're not too far off from what those consoles would run you in the moment. That's because a PS5 with the ceiling of 900, the digital version with the ceiling of at least 800, won't net you the same performance that this PC would at $922. Not only that, you have the benefits of manipulating your settings. Now with a dedicated video card, you're not limited to, say, just one resolution. Now you have all three available to you. Not all three, there's other ones, but you have the core 3, 1080p, 1440p, and even some low settings or medium settings of 4K gaming, should you want to get even more out of your system. And at that point, your CPU wouldn't become the bottleneck. Your GPU would become the bottleneck, and you want that, meaning your CPU would just slow down while your graphics card is really doing a core of the work, and that's at 4K. But this system, again, i5 10400, it's a locked CPU, 6-core, 12 threads, B560, so it's the same motherboard. This system, again, would have potential to scale up if you wanted to play at 1080p and you wanted to play on a 165 hertz monitor and you wanted a faster CPU on this chipset. From an i5 10400, what do you have? You have i7 10700K or a 10700. You really want to stick to a 9K CPU on this B chipset, but you have a 10700K, 11900K, still 10900K. You have faster CPU options available to you with this configuration should you want to upgrade it. Remember, that was one of the cons we had laid out with why you shouldn't want to go with a console, and that's because you don't have the ability to scale performance. You are locked into a custom device and you can't change anything outside of storage with it. You can't upgrade to a faster CPU. You can't add a faster dedicated video card. You can't add more system RAM. You can't introduce more CPU fans or a better cooler to better dissipate heat for higher boost clock frequencies, stable performance, all of those things. You don't have those luxuries. But when you're looking at this price tier, when you're in that $900 range, ask yourself, what purpose do consoles serve now? I'm not that far off from a PC. I could even make some mild changes and modifications here by, say, going with the 1050 Ti. You won't necessarily be able to, compete with the Xbox Series X in terms of what it can do in 4K, and you wouldn't really be able to compete with the PS5 in terms of what it's able to do with its console corporate magic at those resolutions. But you have other benefits made available to you when you would build versus buying a console in this price range, right? Either one, either the PS5 or the Xbox Series X, either console, right? The Xbox Series X we saw was topping out between $750 to $850. And I didn't look up the Series S because believe me when I tell you it's about the same. They're selling for about $500 to $600. You can expect those prices to start to increase a little bit more as we get closer to the holiday over here, or at least in the States, as we get closer to the holiday season. You can possibly expect some of those prices to creep up beyond what we're seeing now. So again, even if that's something you want to consider for a gift for a friend, fam, or loved one, or all three, then consider pulling the trigger now. Don't wait until we get closer to that season, because these prices will increase. Same thing with these, with building a PC, which, if that's you, shameless plug here. If you want to build a PC, I've worked with a few people here online, Sparta Rules 1993 being one of them, but you can always reach out to me. I offer it as a service outside of creating videos here. If you wanted to, build a PC for a loved one, and I can make it happen and help you with that journey as well. And again, I just want to welcome you to hit the like button for me if you're just now tuning into the show, and subscribe if you're new, and hopefully I will have earned your subscription. But let's switch back over here, because we looked at the PC alternative, and yeah, you got a 10400, a B560 motherboard, 16 gigabytes of DDR4 and a 500 gigabyte M.2. This is a well-rounded system. It will be able to game at 1080p high to ultra settings beyond 60 hertz without a problem. It really couldn't do 4K 120 hertz, but it could manage 1440p medium to ultra settings in all modern games without any issues. Like the GTX 1660 and between the Ti and even a Super are still very much capable cards for higher resolutions. Maybe not higher resolutions, higher quality gaming, but definitely for higher resolutions beyond 1080p with those 6 gigabyte VRAM buffers, and even possibly 4K low to medium settings for an average FPS between 30 to 40, depending on the game. But even if you wanted to say, well, I have a 4K TV, which I wouldn't recommend you game on a 4K TV. But if you got that bad boy sitting around and it's collecting dust and you don't want to flip it for a 4K monitor, then, that's the level of performance you can expect, somewhere between low to medium, and even depending on the game, you could even tweak that. Again, remember, dabbling in your system settings or your in-game settings, it's not a chore, it's a benefit, and you should treat it as such. Don't look at it like a chore, because we don't want to do chores, we just want to get it done. But when you look at it like a benefit, we like to get the most out of our benefits, so you will look to get the most out of your in-game settings, which will then help you get the most out of your hardware, which will then in turn help you get the most FPS from your games. But paying more for a PC than a console will really depend on how much you seek to invest in your gaming experience, and that will ultimately determine if the cost is worth it, right? If the cost is worth it to you. But is a console's purpose to function as a medium between, say, the mountaintop and its base? Remember how we referred to this journey? We compare it to that of a mountain, to where, the pinnacle, the top, that is the highest form, the best form, the best way to experience a PC game. You got to reach the top. It's going to take a little bit of work to get there. It's going to take research, saving up for your parts, doing your due diligence to making sure you have the right components to run the kind of games it is you want to play. But remember, the wait is worthwhile. On PC, you have the luxury of optimizing your games around your hardware versus relying on console magic to do it for you. You can put the power in your hands with your keyboard and mouse, or controller if you're a guilty gamer like me. That's going to be the spinoff lab gaming channel, Guilty Gamer. If you're a guilty gamer like me and you keep you keep the plastic on you, you have the luxury and the benefit of deciding how well you want to optimize the games. You're not relying on consoles to do it for you. Even with the PS5, y'all, and the Xbox Series SX, both respectively, they're both still using console trickery magic to have to reach the fidelity and the level of detail. Some games on the PS5 and the Xbox Series X will render and output games at 1080p. It's games like Fortnite, Rainbow Six Siege. You pay $900 for a console to get 1080p native gaming when you could pay about $900, give or take $20 more or less, depending on other component changes you make, like a different case, less VRAM, a different GPU, even a different CPU or a different motherboard. But you're somewhere $20, give or take around $900, to be able to decide how well you want to decide the games look and run. This is one reason why PCs exist. Remember the highlight that was published. I had said that it's the wait is worthwhile, and why games are best experienced on a PC. This is one of the reasons why. Your ability to choose how well you want the game to look and how smooth the game is to you. It's a tailor-made experience. It's like you become the developer when you're playing on a PC. Remember, video games are made on computers for computers, and then they're ported over to consoles. But when you're, fire up that game over on your PC and you have the hardware to manipulate the settings between your resolution and in-game settings, then this is a huge plus and benefit, and one of the reasons why gaming is best experienced on a PC. Consoles core purpose in a PC gaming market is ease of use or function, a laissez-faire, if you will, or hands-off approach, and out of the internals and the game, any in-game settings, right? It's strictly on the controller. Ease of use and function. You just buy your box, take it out of the box, take the box out of the box with a pair of docks. Just take the box out of the box, plug it in, you're good to go. Maybe update it, connect to the internet so you can play some multiplayer games. You're good. You don't have to install anything and make any necessary changes to run the game. The game will just run out of the box. You don't have to go in and say lower all of the settings or change the anisotropic filtering or the FXAA or the MSAA or disable anti-aliasing altogether, change the texture quality from high to like low and change the view distance. You don't have to do any of those things. The game will just run for you, and it will use its console corporate magic to do it. But matching hardware for hardware to build a console, what I would like to call a console competitor PC, is not necessarily impossible. It's just unlikely. And the key word is not console killer, but console competitor. You won't necessarily build a console killer PC, at least in the current scope of the market. The target is building a console competitor to match hardware for hardware what you get in terms of ease of use and function with the console. And that's because these machines are very much similar, but they are not the same, and that's okay. But then again, if you're playing on a console, smooth frame rates and detailed graphics, that isn't what you're after, fam. That's not what you're after. It's affordability, functionality, and simplicity. Characteristics consoles have had since their inception, since day one, even way back to the Atari days. And then with modern consoles like the Dreamcast and the Xbox, just the classic Xbox 360. All those consoles historically have all had those characteristics. They've been affordable, they've been easy to use. You just plug them in and play. Nothing you have to change with them hardware wise to get them to run the games it is you want to play. It'll just do it out of the box. And yet this doesn't make it the better alternative, or doesn't make it better than the alternative. Just makes it more convenient. And that's the purpose that consoles have in a PC gaming market, or a PC gamer's market. It's not better than the alternative. It's just more convenient. That's why they exist. That's why consoles exist. Sparta Rules says low key want to put an OG Xbox or Xbox One I low key want to put an OG Xbox or Xbox One and make a mini ITX build. Put the Xbox One, inside the mini ITX build. I have seen, builds like that where people have done that. And I believe there was one that floated around the webs that the user put like all the consoles into one chassis. That was very interesting. And I see you said for the living room. Yeah. And again, that's another purpose. We didn't dive too much into it, but that's another purpose and reason why consoles exist. Literally, like Sparta Rules 1993 said, for the living room. Absolutely. Among other things, I mean, they're great media devices, I will admit. That's one thing I probably miss my Xbox and PS4. My Xbox was fried and my PS4 was lost, but I found myself watching less media and just doing all my media consumption on a PC once I shifted totally out of the living room and away from my consoles. But I still very much will watch movies and things like that, not on my PC, but and TV shows. But for the most part, if I want some media entertainment and media action, I'm on the PC, fam. I'm on the PC. As Mrs. Ma dropped the mini ITX gaming PC build. If you haven't seen that video, definitely give it a watch. It's a great story, and it highlights the journey of Sparta Rules 1993's build at its initial inception. It's undergone some changes here as of recently. It's looked great. I believe I didn't share it on my Twitter or Instagram, but if you wanted to give it a look, see, just holler at Sparta Rules 1993. I might share it over on Twitter and then share the link so people can see Sparta Rules how it looks now. But yeah, all good stuff. But all right, friends and fam, I think it's time to slow the ride down. I'm gonna just do a quick recap shout out to everybody that was here really fast here. Of course, Sparta Rules 1993, a fellow master channel membership, or a fellow master who, again, shout out to our master who is Sparta Rules 1993. Shout out to our masters. Our masters are important to the channel and to the content for support. And again, if you want to sign up to become a channel member, the link is in the description box below. I share a lot of helpful, I guess I'll say helpful, but it's more so exclusive. The helpful content may come, but again, I am an entertainer personality, and so value for your money is what's important to me in all forms. But shout out to Sparta Rules. Shout out to Rob Balasabas, most importantly, Rob, man. I'm not sure if you're still here, but if you're still here while I drop you in, but if you're still here while I'm giving you shout outs, do let me know so we can properly do or have a proper send off. But shout out to Rob Balasabas, again, fellow creator. And Rob has said the burger is free, but the condiments will cost you. Yeah, that's right. And that's, that's the model behind or with console makers, and even now mobile app developers and even games like Fortnite, to where the game is free, but if you want to get more out of the game, then that's going to cost you. So yeah, the burger, if you're hungry, I'll give you the burger, fam. But it may not taste as good without the condiments. So I'm going to charge you for the condiments. TMZ, it's good to see you. TMZ, what's happening? TMZ rolled in slightly towards the end, but it's good to see you, TMZ. TMZ gets the horn. on this Sunday. TMZ says, what up? All busy times. Totally understand, TMZ. And, I totally understand. And I welcome you to, as we get ready to round up here, jump back and give the replay a watch. And definitely do me a favor and get a stream a like. I see we just got a new like, so you might already have. Yeah, give the stream a like. And I know, TMZ, you're subscribed to the channel. But for those of you who made it this far on the replay, or here with us right now, and if you're not, I welcome you to subscribe. We were doing our outro shout outs. Shout out to TMZ, a long time day oneer. Shout out to Mrs. Mod, our moderator. Dr. Elo was in the house. It was good to see my man Efrain. It's good to see you, Elo. Let me know if you're still in the house. Cloud, I didn't even realize Cloud was here earlier. Cloud, are you still with us, Cloud? Let me know. Cloud said hi, and I missed you, Cloud. My bad. I do apologize, y'all. Again, the goal, I mean, the live show, the live experience is destined and is intended to be a Saturday show. But sometimes I have, things in life happens. I'm a full-time creator, and I work full-time, and I'm a full-time parent, and all that other good stuff. And I still very much have younger children. So sometimes those things just happen unexpectedly, and I gotta take care of what's important as well as the community here. That's why even if we can't make it Saturday, we make it here on a Sunday. Even if you're unable to, participate, if you were unable to make it, like TMZ kind of came in as we were heading out, don't worry, because the stream is left up on the screen and it's made available for you there to gobble up all that juicy watch time. Because watch time is still very much important for us creators here on YouTube. So TMZ, I totally understand. I don't, at any point, I want any of our audience members and friends and lab fam to feel, obligated to attend. But don't worry, because we got replays and VODs and all that good stuff that is right here and available for you to watch at your convenience. In fact, I like, me personally, really quickly here, I'll just drop this in. I like the creators I like to watch live, especially when they have long shows. Like my shows typically average probably about 2.5 hours. Like we're pushing 2 now. But when I watch their shows, most of the time I am myself unable to catch them live, and I won't try to catch them live unless I want to like interact with that particular creator. And it can even be someone out of the like creating coaching space, like my guy Rob. It could just be like somebody like I have other things I'm interested in, most importantly pop culture, which I thought about starting a lab pop culture channel. So hey, we got some things rolling out, y'all. I'm telling you, stick around if if you're into pop culture, things like movies and comics. I really love that stuff. I got a ton of DC stuff all around me, some stuff you can't see, but I really love other forms of media. And so when I follow other creators who talk about those things, like I talk about here myself, I like to watch their replays, as I can just pause. I could pause their shows and not feel like I missed anything, versus watching it live. If I can't sit through the whole show, then I feel like, man, I'm going to miss something, or I have to go all the way back. But I could just catch the replay and just fire it up and just listen to it and watch. It's pretty neat. And here as of recently, our shows have been pretty fun and exciting and highly engaging, as TMC says. Definitely will do. Yeah, absolutely, TMZ. Well, that'll be all for this one, y'all. Again, we did our closing shout outs. Do stick around for the outro if you haven't yet seen it. Pretty fun highlights there, but right. But yeah, fam, that's it for this one. As we roll out with the outro music, I hope y'all have a great week. I'll catch y'all on the content. I'll catch you on the social medias, right? I hope they catch you there anyway. TMZ said, been to a few cons. That'd be cool. Yes, absolutely. And hey, look, we'll see what's behind those closed doors, right? But you never know, so stick around for the journey, y'all. Stick around for the outro. Stick around for the vibes. Most importantly, I'll catch y'all in the next one. Be easy. Sparta rules. I'll see you later, brother. Catch you. Send me an IG message. I see I missed your voice call. If you're not following me on social media, connect with me over there, y'all. Connect with me on social media. I love to engage with y'all. Let's go.